Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's webinar, 5 Steps to Engage Men in Workplace Menopause Support. This is the second event in our World Menopause Day series, Ready, Set, Meno. I'm Jack Cousins. I'm one of the commercial account managers here at Peppy, and I'll be your host for today. Before we get into the webinar, I'm going to play you a quick video from our CEO, Dr. Mrudula Pore, to introduce World Menopause Day at Peppy.
Hi, I'm Mrudula, CEO and co-founder of Peppy. Menopause is already showing up in your workplace, in the metrics you're tracking, in the sick days you're covering, in the talented people quietly stepping away. It's all avoidable. Women aged 45 to 55 are the fastest growing part of your workforce. Wait too long and the cost to your people and to your business only grows. And with the Employment Rights Bill picking up speed, the clock is ticking for employers to take meaningful action. This World Menopause Day, we're here to help HR and benefits leaders get ahead. That means support that starts early, managers who feel equipped, and care that sees the whole person and not just their symptoms. We've pulled together practical tools, expert guidance, and live events to help you take meaningful action, wherever you're starting from. Take a look at our Menopause Toolkit for HR, share it with your teams, and join us for our flagship event, Ready, Set, Meno Live. Because while others are still figuring out where to start, you'll already be leading the way. Ready, Set, Meno.
I hope that's given you a good basis for what World Menopause Day is all about this year. And for today's session, I'm delighted to be joined by my colleague, the brilliant Janet Wingfield, our lead menopause practitioner.
Hello everyone, I'm Janet Wingfield. I'm the menopause lead here at Peppy. I retired from the NHS 5 years ago and embarked on what I like to call my twilight career with Peppy. I feel absolutely privileged to be here. What makes this role so special is that we're able to reach so many who need support, and I get to work alongside an amazing team to make a real difference. One of the things I love most about working at Peppy is that we actually have the time to provide the comprehensive, personalised support and we're not constrained by scheduling pressures that are often part of those traditional healthcare settings. I'm excited to be here with you today, and I look forward to sharing how we can better support women through all stages of menopause.
Thanks very much, Janet. And as mentioned, I'm Jack Cousins, commercial account manager here at Peppy. I've been with the business nearly 3 years, and I work with our clients as a strategic advisor and to ultimately make sure that they and their employees are getting the support they need from Peppy. So we'll be together for about the next 30 minutes or so. So thank you for making the time in your busy day to join us. The focus of the webinar is to be practical and actionable, and we want you to leave with 5 steps you can use straight away in your workplace. Just a few bits of housekeeping. Please don't use the chat. There is a Q&A designated for questions that we will go through at the end. The session is being recorded, so it will be sent out via email afterwards as well. And if you are experiencing any tech difficulties, please just email us on that marketing@peppy email down below, and the team will be able to help you out. So before we begin, I just wanted to start with a quick poll. And that poll question is, how confident do you feel engaging male employees in workplace menopause support? Very confident, somewhat confident, or not confident at all? Just give a few moments there for the answers to come in. All right, so somewhat confident, not confident at all, split at 45% apiece. Very confident, lagging a little bit further behind it at 9%. Janet, anything you make of those responses?
I think the majority are somewhat confident and not confident at all. So everyone's in the right place. Thank you for coming. And I hope that when you finish today, it'll be majority very confident. Yeah.
Awesome. Right, amazing. Let's crack on with the interview then, shall we, Janet? So let's start with the basics. When it comes to engaging men, awareness is step 1. Most men don't know the symptoms of menopause or the impact it can have on colleagues. So what are the most effective ways employers can educate men without overwhelming them or making them feel excluded?
You're right, Jack. Awareness and education really is the foundation. And I think the key is making it really relevant and accessible. So start with those stats. If you share statistics that frame menopause as a business issue affecting team performance, absenteeism, retention, and reputation, position it as an inclusive workplace skills that benefits everybody. Analogies can work brilliantly to make it relatable. So compare symptoms to conditions men might understand. For example, migraines, insomnia, and anxiety. When I explain that brain fog is like having 3 hours of sleep before a really important presentation, or that hot flushes can feel like suddenly developing a fever in the middle of a meeting, it's not abstract anymore and it's something they can genuinely relate to. I also think that planning short, focused, bite-sized sessions rather than those lengthy workshops, because short sessions keep everyone engaged while those marathon workshops can lead to information overload, as we all well know. Using infographics or quick reference guides highlighting key symptoms and support strategies, it can be really useful. Include menopause awareness as part of the broader inclusion and wellbeing training. Focus on practical actions, for instance, provide simple do's and don'ts for any colleague. Show what supportive behaviour looks like, so emphasising on active listening skills, being patient, offering practical help. Emphasise the importance of creating those safe spaces where people feel comfortable to speak up. Give concrete examples of reasonable adjustments, for instance, so flexible hours, desk fans, changes to workload or deadlines, depending, of course, on what's available for your individual organisation. But giving those concrete examples gives employees something to work to. Use male champions who've supported their partners or their colleagues because they can share stories authentically. These champions can also become powerful role models because when men hear from peers who've learnt to be effective allies, it really resonates and creates those peer-to-peer learning opportunities. The goal is making them feel equipped and confident to help, not overwhelmed or excluded from the conversation.
Brilliant. Very insightful. Thank you. And I think you've got a really good example of company that's done that well.
I have, yes. Dave Dixon, Health and Safety and Wellbeing Manager at the Nuclear Decommissioning Agency, is a menopause champion within the workplace. After seeing how menopause affected his partner, he understood the importance of educating men so they can be understanding and supportive of partners, but colleagues and family and friends going through the menopause journey.
Excellent. Thanks very much. Right. So next one, awareness is one thing, but stigma is another. Many men shy away from talking about the menopause because they're worried about saying something wrong. Janet, what are some practical ways to normalize the conversation so men feel safe getting involved?
That's a great point, Jack. Fear of saying the wrong thing is exactly what holds men back. Well, it holds anyone back, really. The first thing I'd say is you don't need to be an expert. No one expects you to understand the medical complexities or have all the answers. The goal isn't expertise, it's simply being a supportive colleague. Start with what you already know. So frame it as supporting colleagues through health transitions. You already do this with other conditions, so shouldn't be any different. Use workplace language you're comfortable with, so adjustments, flexibility, inclusive management. It's really just good people skills that you all already have. I often hear men say, I don't know much about this, but I do want to be supportive. What would help? And that's perfect because it's okay to not know everything and to ask questions. It's about learning practical management skills, not becoming medical experts. And the key is understanding how symptoms impact women at work. And remember, even women going through menopause are learning to navigate this as they experience it. So no one expects you to have all the answers either. Focus on simple awareness and empathy and respond with the same support you'd show any colleague for any health issue. Listen actively and ask, how can I support you? When everyone feels safe to express their needs, it creates an environment where everyone can do their best. So it's important to create a comfortable space to talk. Be patient and listen. Ask what's affecting her work and how you can help. Check if she has all the information she needs and knows about available support. It's important not to trivialise experiences dismiss her symptoms as insignificant, or assume that it's menopause because what looks like menopause might absolutely not be. From a company perspective, make it part of regular management conversations. Include menopause in broader discussions about well-being, flexible working, and team support. Because when it becomes just another aspect of good people management, rather than a special topic, you normalise it completely.
Thanks, Janet. Some really, really good tips in there. Thank you very much. And just on that last point regarding making it, a regular conversation within management and their inclusion. We work with a few clients who have put on specific menopause webinars just for men. And these range from sessions that are introduction to the menopause, designed to educate and destigmatize, to more specific webinars about how you can support somebody going through the menopause, whether you are a manager or a partner, a friend, a colleague, etc. So these webinars help normalize the menopause and, importantly, educate men on the topic so they are more understanding and supported both in personal life, but also importantly within the workplace.
Exactly, Jack. Those male-only sessions can be really brilliant, and it gives men the space to ask questions they might not feel comfortable to ask anywhere else.
Totally. And we talked about things to do, but what are some of the don'ts, i.e., things employers might try that can actually make stigma worse?
That's a great question. I would say don't make it women only. Excluding men from awareness sessions reinforces the idea that it's not their business, and it also creates that them versus us dynamic rather than building inclusion and understanding. It also misses the opportunity to educate the very people who need to be supportive, colleagues and managers. Don't assume all women want the same support. Avoid one size fits all approaches or assumptions about what the women need. And don't presume someone is going through menopause based just on age. Let individuals communicate their own needs. Don't ignore the broader culture, because training alone won't work if the underlying workplace culture dismisses health issues. The key is making menopause support part of broader inclusive practices.
Yeah, really, really good point on that last one. The foundations need to be there in the first place to then build upon. So yeah, great call out on that one. Right. When it comes to policies and comms, this is very, very important. But unless people see leaders embodying them and putting them into practice, they stay on paper. So what are the most impactful actions male leaders or managers can take to show they're behind menopause support?
The most powerful thing that male leaders can do is to lead by example through their everyday actions. It's not about grand gestures, it's about consistent, visible support. When male leaders say, I'm learning about this to support my team better, or I didn't realise the workplace impact before, it gives other men permission to engage and learn without feeling embarrassed. If someone needs a desk fan, flexible hours, or a quiet space, just make it happen without fuss, because other employees watch how leaders respond, and when they see practical support being given naturally, it really does set the tone. Use your influence in leadership meetings, advocate for inclusive policies, challenge dismissive comments, and ensure menopause support is included in wellbeing strategies. Your voice in those rooms carries such a weight that others might not have. Create platforms for women to share their experiences and their needs, then actively listen and act on what you hear. Model the behaviour that you want to see, because if you treat menopause as a normal workplace consideration, your team will too. And if you're comfortable discussing it professionally, others will follow. Make it part of regular management conversations, because the biggest impact comes from making menopause support feel like standard leadership practice, not a special initiative. Jack, I think you've got a really good example here, haven't you, to share?
Yes, yeah, really good one, aligning with those themes of leading by example, and yeah, essentially putting actions into words. So one of our clients is a leading global financial services firm, and they've got a really large workforce, around 20,000 people worldwide, about 2,500 people based in the UK, and their split between men and women is 61% men and 39% women, more or less. And earlier this year, they hosted their first ever menopause focused event put on by their Gender Balance Network. And it was a panel which included a senior executive who was a male and spoke to his experience and perspective supporting his partner during menopause. So the company knew they needed to involve men in the conversation early on in order to build that necessary awareness, but also with it being 61% male dominated workforce and the need to create culture change from the ground up was particularly impactful, especially as you see leaders who are taking their time out of their day that often might be revered, and so when people think, okay, well, this person is talking about this, it's important to them, it should be important to everyone. So yeah, highly impactful way there, involving senior leadership men in those conversations.
It's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That's good.
No problem. Right. So the next step is moving from passive awareness to active involvement. So Janet, what are some practical ways employers can bring men in as allies and champions? For example, through initiatives like menopause cafes or ambassador programs.
Yes, menopause cafes with mixed participation work brilliantly when you create the right environment. Start with informal small group discussions where men can ask questions without feeling that they're in a spotlight. They can work really well. You could also have male-only cafes where men come together to share experiences and ask their peers for support, because as we know, peer learning can be incredibly powerful. Ambassador programs are excellent for awareness training. So they need to be authentic. Choose male volunteers who genuinely want to learn. Give them effective training to represent menopause support across the organisation, and that they act as bridges between the leadership and the employees. Reverse mentoring can also work really well. You pair a male leader with women who are comfortable sharing their experiences, because this creates genuine understanding and it builds real relationships, not just that theoretical knowledge. When we think about male champions, these men can lead by example, advocate for policy changes, and actively support colleagues too. They can share challenges and successes, and that as they implement real change within their teams. You can also try role play. Role playing difficult conversations can really work because it gives practical support responses and it gives men the space to make those mistakes and learn in a non-judgmental environment. You can use storytelling from male champions, maybe in your company all hands or stories on your company intranet or internal newsletters. Nothing is more powerful than hearing from a male colleague about how supporting a team member through menopause made a genuine difference to that person's well-being and confidence at work, and naturally helped retain that valuable talent. Make it about leadership development, because not just about that menopause awareness. Frame it as building inclusive leadership skills that benefit everyone, and this attracts men who want to grow professionally. The key is moving beyond awareness, as we've said, to active participation and giving men meaningful roles in creating change. And of course, I will add, it isn't all about managers. All male employees can show support through their everyday actions.
Totally. On that last point, managers make up a smaller representation of any business, right? So it is the responsibility and effective, or most effective, when everybody is making the difference.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you very much for that, Janet. And just on that, what's one quick win that HR leaders on this call could pilot in the next month?
Well, that's an easy one. Ask male employees for feedback. What do they need to feel comfortable to support others? And this will give you the basis for any education needs that you had within your organisation.
Brill. Thank you very much. We're coming on to our fifth and final step. So just a quick reminder, if you've got any questions, please do pop them in the chat and we'll be able to field those at the end. So now on to our fifth and final step. If we don't measure it, we can't improve it, right? So Janet, what are some simple but effective ways employees can track progress on engaging men?
Well, I can think of quite a few here, Jack. So track your participation in training. Are men attending and are they actually engaging? A simple show of hands asking who feels confident to support a colleague through menopause at the beginning of it and then again at the end of it tells you everything. Monitor those policy usage patterns. If only female managers are using flexible working or wellbeing support, that suggests that your men either don't know about it or don't feel comfortable facilitating it for their teams. Track who's approving adjustments and accommodations, and this shows you which managers are actively supportive. Measure through surveys is a good one to do. So ask simple questions like, have you discussed workplace support needs with your manager in the last 3 months? And if women report having these conversations, but their male managers don't, you know there's a gap. Track male champions and ambassadors across all levels. How many men are volunteering for menopause support roles, not just most managers, but employees at every level? How many stay engaged after the initial training? Because retention tells you whether your approach is working across your entire male workforce. Use those exit interview data. So are women leaving citing lack of support during menopause? Are they specifically mentioning male managers not understanding their needs? The simplest metric can be that anonymous feedback. Ask women, do you feel comfortable discussing menopause related workplace needs with your manager? If your managers are predominantly male, but women don't feel safe approaching them, you know where to focus. Jack, could you share an example of how feedback or data has helped an organisation adapt?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we're quite lucky at Peppy because we capture a lot of data in the app to feed back to our clients, such as clinical symptom improvements over time, which shows the positive impact of having something like Peppy in place, combined with other menopause support offerings that clients have. However, one of the best things we can do is provide information on what are the most sort of clicked upon or watched piece of the content so that we can relay that back to our clients and say, this is what your employees are interested in or are caring about, at that point in time. So perhaps focus your attention to these areas, when you're putting on internal initiatives or, bolstering that support elsewhere. So we can then assess that again in the future and maintain this feedback loop.
That feedback loop sounds invaluable. It really shifts the focus from assumptions to actual employee interests and needs. So yeah, brilliant.
Excellent. And Janet, thank you so much. You've given us 5 clear steps: awareness, tackling stigma, visible leadership, active involvement, and measuring progress. Before we close, if you could leave HR leaders with one golden rule, one thing they should always do, and one thing they should definitely avoid when it comes to engaging men in menopause support, what would those be?
Of course. So I would say whether someone's a team member, manager, or leader, always frame menopause support as good people skills, not specialised expertise. It's about building those inclusive teams, retaining your talent, and helping colleagues perform their best. Avoid treating male engagement as if men are inherently insensitive or need educating about women's issues, because this creates that defensive and resistance instead of genuine engagement. After all, the bottom line is that men genuinely want to support their colleagues. Our job is simply to show them what good workplace allyship looks in practice.
Fantastic. 2 really good pieces of advice to finish on there. Thank you. We've covered a lot in the sort of 25 minutes that we've been speaking, and so now we just want to give the opportunity to our listeners and watchers just to field a few questions that they have submitted. So I'll just jump into the Q&A and pick a couple here. Janet and I will do our best to answer these. So first one I've got is, do you have any recommendations or examples of platforms that have been created for sharing experiences? Just off the top of my head, Janet, you also might want to add to this, but certainly in organizations that use communication tools like Slack or Microsoft Teams, specific channels can be set up in those to create those spaces to have those conversations, sharing experiences. You can make them private as well as open. So depending on the privacy and confidentiality you would want to create within that channel. Again, a lot of employee resource groups or communities will have their own ways of creating those spaces. So yeah, please do reach out internally to those individuals if you've got any ideas. But Janet, I don't know if you've got anything that you'd like to add on that.
Slack was the first thing that came to my mind when you asked me. It's about any, but it can be any internal, can't it? You know, you can create email groups that are
Yeah,
private groups. You can do all those any way that you know you can set a group together that then you can start to work together as teams. Yeah.
brill. Right. Next one. Have you got any recommendations for opening this conversation up in countries where menopause is still taboo, e.g. in APAC? Yeah, that's a really interesting one. And appreciate that sometimes it's you know a little bit more culturally sensitive to have these conversations elsewhere compared to say the UK, which is fairly progressive. And again, we work with a number of clients who have offices dotted around the globe, and so sometimes this can be a bit of a challenge. But the key thing here is making sure that your contacts within the UK who are either maybe heading up these ERGs or communities or benefits or wellbeing programs are aligning with their counterparts in those offices across the world. And then that can kind of trickle down from that point, because there will undoubtedly be people who require the support. It's just a case of building that up from the ground up. But of course, it does start from the top. So finding that counterpart in the office located else across the globe is the way to start there. Any ideas on that one, Janet, yourself?
Well, I think my mind went straight to the other end. So from the bottom upwards, is that any colleague, whether you're a line manager or whether you're a peer, it's not always about saying, well, I think you started menopause, you're having a hot flash. It's about that um I can see you're struggling. I can see you're not managing. Are you okay? Are you okay? Can I do anything to support you? And that way it's opening it up as a general question for support within the workplace. And that's the very start of any support. But yes, you're right, it needs to come down the line, as you've just said, Jack. But I think from the bottom upwards is also just as important.
Totally, yeah. Essentially a two-pronged attack, isn't it?
Yeah.
From both sides, and that will help create that groundswell to put something in place. Brill. Another one I've got here. What quick indicators can HR teams look for that show their male engagement efforts are actually working? This is a trickier one. I'm not 100% sure on this one, in all honesty, but surveys are always fairly effective in my opinion. Whether they're sent out as part of pulse surveys or employee feedback surveys internally, you can essentially add in questions around these pieces here. But again, just on the concept of making it that managers are doing their bit, have conversations in one-to-ones, put that message or that conversation on the table. That destigmatizes it, makes it less taboo, but you'll be able to get that instant feedback straight away. But Janet, don't know if you've got anything on that.
Yeah, we covered this slightly, didn't we, already in our conversation today? But it's about, tracking that training to see if people are re-engaging. It's about really important that you said about one-to-ones, because those managers will be having one-to-ones with their managers, and they'll be having one-to-ones with their direct reports. And it grows in that way. It's asking those questions at every touch point with the employees to then get feedback, to know what you need within your organization to be more effective. Does that make sense?
Excellent. Thank you very much. So we're at half past, and so that will be it for today. But Janet, thanks so much for sharing your expertise. It's been really interesting and eye-opening. And thank you to everyone who joined us. As a reminder, by registering, you'll get access to our the menopause guide. That's packed with actionable tips and insights you can put into place straight away. And we'll be sending this out via email very shortly after the end of this webinar. In the meantime, scan the QR code on the screen, and please do that now. You'll gain access to our World Menopause Day campaign hub. This contains all the content and events you need to be able to take action in your workplace today. So again, we hope today has been very insightful. We hope it has given you ideas and confidence to bring men into the conversation from the get-go. That's how we break stigma, protect culture, and deliver real ROI. Thanks again, and we'll see you at the next Peppy webinar.